Greetings, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, all that is. Welcome to the show, Katrice. This is our 9th episode of Galactically Speaking with Katrice and Raquel. So
There.
I
That's better.
hope you are doing well. Welcome to the show, Katrice.
Thank you. I like it much better when can you see me better? Remember you said never mind.
Yeah, I can see you all right.
Okay, good. It's just I was the full me and I wasn't appreciating the full me because I didn't get as much as you with that great big grin that you have on your face. Okay, we're good. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're on your phone today, so we see a little bit of you, and it's a little further away, but it's all good. Um, so yeah, Katrice is having some computer issues, so she had to go and give it in the repair shop, and so she's coming to us from her phone today.
Yeah. A whole
Yay!
thing. My God. Today. Oh my God.
Well, today I thought we'd talk about the divine feminine energies and just bring forth the two polarities, shall we say, of the fallen feminine, so to speak, versus the risen or the rising new energies of the feminine. And so, in order to bring that forward, I just wanted to preempt that with just some energies that I've been experiencing over the last little while. And that's been just in the last few weeks, I would say. And
Yeah.
this includes you as well, Katrice, as we did that event together. So yeah, I've just seen some major shifts within my own reality and how that divine feminine or the Sophia energies have been anchoring within the field and within my reality very powerfully. So I guess this all started with the opening, if you will, of that gateway where we powerfully anchored the divine masculine energies that came through during a grid work mission that happened in early March. I would say, yeah, it was about mid-March. I think it was the 15th of March, a grid work mission that we did in the UK with Indigo Angel. So, if folks want to check that out, I believe she's got some videos on her YouTube channel catering to that event. But anyway, we brought in this very powerful divine masculine energy that anchored in the field during that grid work mission. And prior to that mission and after that mission, I was tuning into King Arthur, the energies of King Arthur, and this beautiful being came to me, and it was like an energy that was in a way in stasis, or frozen in time, if you will, for
Mm.
many many centuries, right? And so that energy was awakened within the field, and Yeshua, who you know that I channel as well, came through, and the two of them came to me on separate occasions and told me about what was happening in terms of this divine masculine energy anchoring within the field. So that's like the pure Christos divine masculine energy, right? That's being anchored in the field. And so that was around that UK event, right? The gridwork mission. Right after that, we had the Canadian gridwork mission, also tied in with Indy and her group of folks that joined us on this mission. And that too was a very powerful mission. We brought in both the Sophia energies, the divine feminine energies, and the divine masculine energies. And we did a complete clearing of what we know as Turtle Island or North America. So it encompassed the entire North American region, right? And again, so during that time, the divine feminine energies that showed up were White Buffalo Calf Woman and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. They came in very powerfully during that mission and before and after that mission during my own transmissions with them. So there was that powerful anchoring of the divine feminine energies into the field. And then after that mission, we had a ceremony because it was, I think, a couple of weeks after that. It was the 21st of April, I believe. We had that event planned, and we planned it as a ceremony, just to further land those energies in the field, but also for it to be like a celebration to bring forth those energies as a new earth energy, right, as a new earth frequency to bring that into the field. And so Katrice came in and she joined us for that ceremony. And to me, it was a very powerful event as well. We had a lot of prayers that were brought forth. There was a lot of joy within that collective. We had a man join us with his child. We had another lady come in with her child. So it was more of a family orientation, if you will, and a lot of divine feminine presence during that celebration. And so, again, after that mission was completed, I got together with my guides, and of course, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene came forward and gave me their feedback and their perspective of what took place within the field. And so, what happened was it was a very powerful energy that came in from both the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies. And so I just want to read this out to you because I don't want to miss out on anything that came through during that transmission because it was so powerful. So this is like a bit of a summary that I did for all of the people that came through that mission, and I sent it to them as an after the mission sort of recap. So here are my thoughts on this, and then I go to just to recollect what Yeshua had said. So I said, I was surrounded by this electric energy as they surrounded me with so much gratitude and joy for the work that we had accomplished. I was told that we did a very powerful gridwork mission within the field of Turtle Island. They specifically told me that we reached a 0 point field that was a very high frequency vibration, such that we were able to overturn and correct the field. As a result, those energy fields had been deconstructed so that healing could take place for the persecution and crucifixion wounds that were residual energies within the field for Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And what this means is that we corrected 2,000 years of trauma and karma and inversion, bringing it to a close within that 0 point field. These inverted energies were replaced with the true Sophia codes and true divine feminine and masculine energies. And with that clearing and with the exit of the Pope, which also happened a day after that, right? Or the day off. I think it was the day off, right?
Day off because it
Of
was
the event. Yeah, yeah. And so with that clearing and with the exit of the Pope, King Arthur has come in powerfully as a warrior energy to evict those dark energies that exist within the Vatican. And again, we achieved that 0 point energy field for these Christos and Sophia energies to be anchored. These energies will strengthen and gain momentum over the next few days or weeks, toppling all of the inversion that has been seen within these dark places as it relates to money, as it relates to child and sex trafficking of men, women, and children. And all of those degradations are being systematically removed and released from the field, bringing in stability, peace, calm, and serenity all across the lands. This is the true anchoring of the divine Christos and Sophia energies, the Heros Gamos energies as they anchor within the land and within the hearts of the collective. So I thought that was pretty powerful. And the way he explained it to me was, it was like a yin and a yang sort of energy, right?
right. And it
That
went
was like some of these remnants were in the field, right? That they were not able to bring into their own soul's energy to align that energy with their souls, right? And so those fragmented pieces, because we had reached that 0 point field from where they had been separated, right? So we reached that 0 point field, and then they were able to collect all of those fragmented pieces. And it was like this yin and yang energy that then they were able to take into the higher realms with them for healing to take place on a higher level. So I thought that was pretty spectacular and really, really very powerful. What did you feel about the event in general?
The idea of what we as female embodied were able to do, anchoring in with essence, the vibration, as it were, of the divine feminine, just for me just felt very, very pure. And it was just another rung in my own evolution in that divine feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that energy within myself over the last little while has come into this place where it's so, I feel fully, fully anchored in my divine feminine, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not without, going, oh, I don't need that masculine because that is a part of me. But on a purely personal note, what all of this energy has done is I actually, hallelujah, have brought in my very own divine masculine. And
Yeah.
it was, we were actually speaking about this the other day, and he mentioned that it's not like there's him and there's me, there's the divine feminine, there's the divine masculine. He said he feels that we have merged into one being, and
Yeah.
that is so powerful because
Yeah.
you have that connection, yet you're also able to stay very, very attached to that complementary energy,
Yeah.
physical reality, which is really quite a gift, while
Yeah.
not needing that that masculine energy that used to always happen in our old relationships, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The more tuned that we are to our own divine feminine and all that that means to us, the easier it is to bring in another being that is going to mirror that complete opposite energy, which when you go yin and yang, it's just
Yeah.
one and
It's
the other.
perfectly balanced.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And
And we've talked about this before too, right? It's like, that balance keeps shifting, right? Like you can be slightly off your feminine, and this partner of yours will fill that gap, if you will, that you are lacking today. And then the same thing might happen on another day where he's lacking in that feminine or the masculine energies, and you can compensate for that by filling that void in his life, right?
I
So
have,
it's that balance, right?
yeah, he's though one of the clearest beings I've ever met in my life. And it's just, there's no pretense. He's not raw, I'm man,
Yeah.
woman, nothing like that,
Yeah.
right? He understands how important it is for all of us to not only resonate with what we feel in here,
Yeah.
resonate with all of what we feel out. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Well, and that's the pure masculine energies, right?
Yes.
That's the Christos masculine energy, right?
Mm.
It's to do with honor, it's to do with protection, it's to do with respecting the female energy for what it is. And that's what you're getting from him, right?
And like actually, yeah, just completely sending you this full acceptance of
Yeah.
all of who you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The more that we connect in with that, the better everything is. But as I went segued over to woohoo, all about me, what it was during that the ceremony, right? As we traverse the country, as it were, I
Yeah.
feel the energies not being just in our particular part of the planet, but every
Everywhere.
it
Yeah.
went very, very deep. And from that core at the center of the earth, it was allowed to spread out to everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I took from that.
Yeah.
You
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted to do, right? To
Mhm.
spiral out that energy, not just to Canada, but throughout the world, right? And wherever it is needed.
And God, Goddess knows it's needed everywhere.
Absolutely.
Oh.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty powerful, just to anchor that Christos Sophia energy in the field. And as we continue to do that, it's just bringing in those positive vibes, those positive energies as we move forward to inundate the field with these, with these pure energies, right? Because you and me are, aware of the other inverted energies, shall we say, and it's very much in your face. And what I'm noticing is that they're not hiding it anymore, they are just becoming so very bold in actually showing us exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Mm.
And I don't know where this is coming from, but it's just so blatantly in your face. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of talk briefly about the inversion, just to give our audience a bit of historical and bring it back to what we're experiencing in this day and age as well, in terms of the inverted feminine energy, shall we say. And I thought it would be good to bring in Mary Magdalene as an example, if you will, of how this divine feminine was um, was in a way portrayed as the
Ah,
enemy, if you will, right? And she was made an example of in
oh,
the highest order, and that still stands even till today. She's her true teachings, her true name, shall we say, is still tarnished. Well, not anymore, because that is now being cleared
yeah.
from the field. But I just wanted to go back to that historical event when this truly happened, because as I said earlier, we came to that 0 point field of the starting of where all of this happened, right? And so I drilled down on that, and I found out that there was this pope called Pope Gregory the First, and for some reason, he was given the title the Great. I don't know what was so great about him. But
Pope
anyway,
Gregory the
the
first,
first,
or
but
the
he was also called the Great, Pope Gregory the Great. And he was in office, shall we say, from 540 to 604 AD. So, right at the beginning of the
wow.
century.
What?
Yeah, this was a long, long time ago.
But 540 to 6 what?
604.
Wow, okay.
So, 6th century, yeah. So yeah, anyway, during one of his sermons, he essentially um, degraded Mary Magdalene in his sermon, saying that she was a pertinent woman and that she was a fallen woman,
Yeah,
and was not
pure.
basically pure, or even worthy of being mentioned in the church or any of his writings or any of the scriptures that they were bringing forward at that time, right?
Mhm.
And so that sermon, if you will, was written into many of the books that were being published at that time. Now, I don't know if you know about the Council of Nicaea.
Mm.
They were the council that was formed by the Roman Empire to bring forth all of these gospels, if you will,
Okay.
um, for the Christians at that time.
How do you
Now,
spell Sophia?
Nicea.
Oh, exactly as it sounds.
So yeah, they brought forward by the, I guess, the Roman emperors at that time to bring forth what the people needed um, to incorporate, if you will, as the Christian religion. And so it
Okay.
was, to me, it was like the enemy of Yeshua or Jesus Christ at the time to write books about him and his followers or his disciples and about what was now being portrayed as Christianity, right? And so
Mhm.
that was taken on by the Council of Nicaea. And so they brought forth this very, to me, a very inverted, teachings of Yeshua and Mary and, all of his disciples. Well, a lot of it has been tainted. I shouldn't say that it's not all completely true. I mean, there is some truth to it, but, a lot of it has been inverted and tainted. And, it's much like giving you a story from today. It's like, there are so many belief systems on what's exactly happening, right? The
Right.
story is coming from the victor, so to speak, right? And so to me, that was not in alignment with what was truly happening, and it was not the true story of what actually took place. And so this story gives you a snapshot into what was believed at the time. Like Mary Magdalene was, first of all, if you use today's language, she was the partner. life partner of Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
so she was his closest ally, and she was witness to his ascension. She was witness to his teachings, his ministry. She was witness to any and all of the miracles that he performed. She was witness to his belief systems. And like you said, they shared that close relationship of the yin and yang between a man and a woman. So
Totally.
if you take that to a new level, a spiritual level, and you're completely aligned with your own connection to your higher self and to the divine, then that enhances your true relationship, right? Not
Yes.
only on the physical level, but on a spiritual level as well. And
Because something as you were talking here, but that brings you in to the sacredness of that sexual union
yeah,
between balanced masculine and feminine, right?
absolutely.
And like that is why Mary Magdalene was persecuted. They weren't in a proper marriage, right? So
Yeah,
she was a prostitute and blah blah blah.
yeah.
However, if Jesus had not had Mary Magdalene to help him fully anchor into what his path was, he would never have done as much. And her part in that, well, she was just a fallen woman.
Well, that was their sole mission, right? So Mother Mary, his mother, and Mary Magdalene, prior to this incarnation as Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, were already part of the Sophia collective,
Yeah.
right? So this was their sole mission, to come in and to complete this mission with Yeshua. Now, Yeshua, on the other hand, and this came through from the writing of my book, The Voice of an Angel, and how I intimately got to know the story from his perspective, not from the Bible or not from any other source, right? So I'm speaking on what I have gathered from his own perspective. And so when he came into the incarnation, he was not aware, like he had planned his incarnation, but he was not aware that he was going to meet Mary Magdalene as his partner. So
Ah,
that was the inside joke, if you will, from the creator, right? And he was like keeping it as a surprise from Yeshua. And but Mother Mary knew about it. His mother knew about it. And so when it was time for him, his mission to come online, and then Mary showed up one day, to do some sewing with her or some kind of project like that. And so that's how the two of them physically met, right? And so she was also conspiring in the background to bring them closer together, right? And so that's how things sort of came together with their union, right? And so coming back to my point, it was like the stories that came through after his death, right, was not this pure alignment of them, not only as a couple, but as a true ministry of God, or, the lessons that they were trying to bring forth within their own teachings, if you will. And
mhm.
that was just a pure message of peace. And it was a message of true aligning within your own body and within your own mind to the energy of the Creator. And Yeshua, or Jesus, was bringing forth those teachings on how easy it was for a person in the physical to connect to those energies through their higher self and align with the energies of the Creator, right? And
Right.
so he brought forth all of these teachings through very simple stories, and you might know these as parables, right? That he talked to the people about, right? And so all of these teachings were very simple because at that time, 2000 years ago, people were not as perhaps as sophisticated as we might have been, right? There was no internet or, where you could do research and stuff like that. So the delivery of the message was very different, right, in those days. So this Council of Nicaea, they took it upon themselves um, to spread the word, if you will, according to their perspective of what they thought Christianity should be like. And
Mhm.
even before, Jesus was born, Yeshua, as Jesus was born into that incarnation, Christianity was already in existence, but it took on a new energy, let's say, once Yeshua had passed away, right? because they started to call him the Son of God, right? And so they brought this in as like a new layer, if you will, of Christianity. And then it started to be enforced as that, as him representing the religion of Christianity, which it still is today. You know, if you talk about Christianity, people immediately connect it to Jesus, right?
Of course.
And so to me, that's the inversion that was, in a way, keeping these beings from fully aligning and healing from that incarnation from 2000 years ago. And so all of this collection, if you will, in the field of this um, Christos and the Christ consciousness energy. And when I say Christ consciousness energy, it just means it has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. It's that pure masculine energy as it connects to the higher light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that source. Well, when you go all it is, it's
Yeah.
energy.
It's all that is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's that pure connection to the creator, but from a masculine perspective. And the Sophia energy is that female or that feminine aspect, but they're both, in a way, the Christos energy. They're just sharing that balance between the two energies.
totally.
And so the division that we make, just to understand it, is we call it the Sophia energy or the Christos energy, but they are both balanced with the mother and the father, or, you know, the male or the female or feminine, masculine energies. They're all one, but they
Mm-hmm.
have different aspects within that one energy of the male and the female energies. And so this was like a very powerful energy that came through, right, to shift that balance within that 0 point field, to invert all of these energies and all of these practices that were introduced into the field, whether it was by this Pope Gregory or whether it was by the Council of Nicaea. So it's like all of these inversions were wrapped up and flipped right side up again, you know.
Totally.
And so that clearing has taken place very, very recently. And so, in a way, it's a huge relief for these beings, you know, to be finally free of that karma and for them to be allowed to heal from a soul level, to be
Totally.
able to do that after so many years, right? Almost 2000 years. That's a long time for your soul to be waiting, right? And so, the way Yeshua explained it to me, it was like these fragmented pieces. In a way, they took on a life of their own. It was like a shadow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you have like fragmented and broken pieces, this shadow energy took on a life of its own. And when these, let's just use the Council of Nicaea because we were talking about them, when these energies came together and tried to bring this energy forward as something that was holy or something that was the true representation of Jesus, these energies attached itself to that field, if you will, because it felt familiarity to that energy. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it attached itself to that energy, thinking it was the true energy of Yeshua. And so that fragmented part took on a life of its own, and it over the centuries it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But it was not the true energy of Yeshua or Jesus, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so now this fragmented piece, if you will, has it's almost like it's in a downgraded version of Yeshua and his true soul energy,
Okay.
right? And so that forms like the polarity of the yin and the yang, right? Which is the impure version. And so that is the part that's needing to be healed on a higher dimensional level.
Right.
And so it's happening as we speak, I suppose, you know, since that ascension of that dark part has taken place, or those fragmented parts have taken place, that healing is now taking place within the entirety of this soul matrix, if you will, that is known as Yeshua.
Right. Mm.
And of course, Mary Magdalene as well, because they are one, right?
Just
And
like I was
so,
talking about earlier, that
yeah, yeah,
there's that separation through that third dimension thing. Everybody has to have it. Well, it's either this or it's that.
yeah.
Whereas in that higher vibration, it just
Mm-hmm.
is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's, yeah.
So another thing that I found during my research was, again, dragging this being's name through the mud is the Magdalene laundries. Like even the name, right, is tarnishing
Right.
her name, right? And so this is a story from Ireland where the fallen women are sent to this place with the hope, or that's what they're selling it as, the hope to recover from their situation, whether they're having, um, an unplanned pregnancy, or they're too poor to bring up their kids. They go and drop off their kids there, or what are the other circumstances like?
Well, it was basically, it was a home for unwed girls that were
Yes,
pregnant. And what it did though was it completely shamed them. Their
yes.
children were just taken away, and I think they were actually put into some sort of church run home or something, right?
Well, there were many, many of these institutions, but they were all run by the church
Yeah,
and by the nuns.
yeah. And they were cruel. I
Yeah.
wish I should go look. There it was, that series. Was it a series just recently? In the
Well, I saw this documentary, which is available on YouTube. It's called The Forgotten Maggies.
Oh.
I thought that was really interesting. It was a documentary going through, the process of what happened to these women. This guy finds like a few of the women that had survived this laundry system, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talked about their experiences as children that were left there from, their parents couldn't afford to bring them up. Another one was living with her grandmother, and her grandmother had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was then living with her grandfather, but after a while, I think it was 6 months after her grandmother passed away, granddad called her mother, who was living in the city in Dublin, and said, look, I can't take care of your child anymore. I'm having other people to come and another family coming in and moving into the house with me. And so we can't have this child in the house anymore. So he called the mom, who was not able to take care of the child, to come and take the kid back again.
Yeah.
And what she did was take the child from the grandfather and go straight to this Magdalene Laundries and leave her there. And so this is how it was sold, though. The promise was that they would be given education and that they would be taking care of the kids. But once they got in there, and for the older kids, they were promised training, like, training in order to improve themselves. But once they were admitted into the system, if you will, and once all the paperwork was signed, they were then stripped of all of their identity. First of all, their hair was cut off. They were made to put on these very drab clothes, and they were locked into these dormitories, or rooms with many, many children in them. And at any given point, there were like 200 kids in those schools, right?
Mm.
And so, yeah, they were just treated so badly. Like there was violence, there was mistreatment, and they were like drilled with, fear, put into their minds the minute they got there. And the day would begin like this. It would be you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you go to mass, you have breakfast, and you're off to work in the laundry. And you work until lunch, and no talking. That was a very strict thing, right? No talking. And then you go for lunch, you finish your lunch, back to the laundry till about 6 o'clock, and then you go to mass, and then off to bed. So the entire day, you haven't talked to anybody. You're just doing this robotic work. And your mind is completely in fear of these women who consider themselves to be married to the church,
Yeah.
holy and whatever.
Brides of Christ.
Yeah, brides of Christ. And then, yeah, and then day two, and, life continues that way. So it's like they're completely stripped of their identity, completely stripped of who they are, what they are. And they're living in fear constantly.
Mm.
And to me, that's just, yeah, it's like a form of
Abuse.
definitely abuse, but also stripping them of their true sovereignty as a being, right? As a person. Like you're not allowed to look at yourself in the mirror. You're not allowed to dress the way you want to. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to complain about anything, you know. You're not allowed to wear the clothes you want to wear. You're not allowed to play with children your age. Nothing of that sort.
Yeah, that's
So
horrible.
yeah, that's like a complete, you know,
But
wounding, if you will, to that energy, right?
that sort of stuff was still going on not that many years ago.
No, it ended in 1996.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's freaking amazing.
yeah, yeah. And so it's just a continuation of this garbage, you know. And so the fallen energies are like the wounding done to the feminine energies from, you know, from beginning of time, I would say, you know, and it just continues and continues in these various iterations, if you will, of how the feminine energy has been subjugated in so many ways, right?
And made to feel guilt on
Exactly.
both
And shame, guilt and shame.
guilt and shame. Oh
Yeah.
my God. When I was younger, due to whatever, I did always feel somehow that I was bad. It was
Mm-hmm.
quite, right?
Yeah.
And when you keep that down there,
Yeah.
that's it
Well,
all.
and you store it in your body, right? Gets stored in your cells, right? And so then you bring in the Draco invasion, which is a totally male-oriented invasion, right? And
Mhm.
with that invasion came some more subjugation of the female energies. And this was the incorporation, if you will, of the frequency fences, right? And this was again the mind control system in the energy fields. And this was directed not just to male and to the female energies, but this was across the board. But this again inflicted that old wound within the female energy, if you will. And they came in as this invading force, right? And they had no respect for the women. Again, they had this very aggressive male attitude, right? Towards the women, and they treated children like, first of all, children were their food, right? So it was like a food source for them, and then the women were just like playthings for them, right? And so they installed this whole sexual perversion, if you will, or that aspect of further degrading the feminine energy as that, you know, that deprivation took place because they were against anything that had to do with the creator energy. And so when you think about it, the womb is the stargate, if you will, that brings forth
It's the
the
create.
birthing, right? The
Yeah.
birthing of a new being, right? And so they wanted to invert that energy and putrefy it as much as possible, right? And so they brought in all of these energies of, you know, sexual misery and prejudice against women and slavery and all of these things. And then when you bring in the, let's just say, the creativity of the human being as it mixed with these aggressors, it just took on a whole other attitude, right? And so people became creative on how to exploit the sexual energy, if you will, right? And
Mhm.
if you bring that into today's day and age, you see that in so many versions of it, right? You've got the porn industry, which is very, very lucrative, right? You've got the music videos, which are hyper sexualized.
God, it drives me crazy. And it's not like I'm certainly not a prude and I like that sexual vibe, but
Yeah,
not when it's all these little kids watching it and emulating it. And you see some little kids on all these TikTok videos lately, and
yeah,
mom or whatever thinks this is so cute. And
yeah,
the way these little kids are dancing, it's like so suggestive. And they
absolutely.
realize what they're doing, but it doesn't take long. I mean, 8 and 9 year olds, they're fully aware of their sexual energy.
Yeah.
That wasn't the way it was long
No,
before.
no.
And it's
And
because
see, that's the
all,
inversion.
yes, because that's all they see.
Yeah. Well,
Ugh,
see, that's the inversion, right? Because they are using sex or sexual energy as a way or as a magnet, right, to attract themselves to whatever they want, right, in the physical or in the material world, right? They
mm,
use that energy to seduce the male or to seduce um, the circumstance, if you will, right,
yeah,
to work to their benefit in order to achieve something. So it's a very materialistic angle as well, right? And it's a form of prostitution, in my opinion, right?
oh,
It's
totally.
totally, trapping, if you will, that energy within the sacral chakra, the creative, the pure creative energy, and devolving it in a way so that these inverted energies can come through, right? And then you bring in all of that energy of the sexual depravity when you look at it from the pornography industry. You have the different fetishes, which is like totally against the organic
That
um,
love vibration.
yeah, the organic arousal, if you will, right, within the sexual act. So you're bringing in that inorganic aspect of arousal, which is totally inverted to how you should actually, or not how you should, but the act itself and the divine act of coming together as a partner, right? And
Hmm.
that's totally inverted, right? And so there's this um, attachment, if you will, to the emotion as well, right? When a female energy is manifesting in this way, you have that energy, if you will, in manifesting in the way of being unworthy or being jealous, right?
Uh,
And if you think of the oppressive energy, it's like, when you're in that development age, right? You go through the school system, you have that energy of being oppressed all the time, and you're sort of guided through this caged sort of school system that keeps pounding it in your head. This is the way you're supposed to do things. This is the path that you're supposed to be on. You go to school, you graduate, you get a job, you have a family, you give birth to children, you become a part of your partner's life, and then you are dying inside, right? There's no individuality or no sovereignty to your own being, right? And so for the female energy, it's like there's no balance. There's that trap, if you will, right? Within that sacral energy, there's no outlet for it to be pure in that sovereign way, if you will. And I'm
mhm.
not saying that it's bad to live a life with your husband and have children. There has to be that balance between the two, right?
Well, because you can't be just somebody's mother, somebody's wife, somebody's sister. You need to have your own, who you are for you and what
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
I,
What's your soul mission, right? Yeah,
because I remember it's probably maybe 40. I had it, quote unquote, all, right? Everything. It was just, I had nothing at all that I would ever have to worry about except I remember getting dressed, had the great clothes, nice car, big house on the hill, and I'm ready to head out. And I look in the mirror and I saw this woman looking back at me, and I had no idea who I was. It was insane. And it was like I started to cry because I went, oh my good God, this is
mm,
where I thought I was supposed to be at 40. And here I am. And oh, something's missing. And it
yeah,
was me. I was missing. That was
yeah,
the beginning of a huge evolution in the life of me.
yeah,
Then I shucked it all and okay, now what? Been interesting ever since.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, that happened to me as well, right? Because I found myself living through somebody else's eyes, right? And I completely lost sight of who I was or what I was until I came to this revelation after, my marriage and my relationship had ended. And I had that time to go inside and finally birth myself, if you will, right? Because, I was already in my what was it, 30s, I suppose, right? And so I had gone through my entire life until that point, not really knowing what my own truth was or what my mission on this earth was, right?
Yeah.
And there was that disconnect within that spiritual aspect of myself as well, right? And so that's when I went off on this spiritual quest. And, through that spiritual quest, I essentially found myself, right? And
I,
so it's that, and on, if you look at it in truth, like you don't need to go on this quest if you are true to yourself right from a very young age, right? If that energy is nurtured in the right way, imagine having that from a very young age when you're completely aware, when
and
you're
get your
completely in alignment.
and you're in your own flow, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
naturally you're guided to where you're meant to be next, as opposed
absolutely.
to trying to be where you think you're supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that dragon energy, right? That life force energy that drives you, right? And that was dormant for me, right? It was just put to sleep and it was like pushed to the side, right? And so when that energy comes forward, it's like you have this feeling of love, you have this feeling of joy, you have this feeling of gratitude.
And excitement for what's next
Yeah,
instead of fear of what's
exactly.
right.
Fear just is such a useless emotion. It totally inundates everything in your being, right? And so
Oh,
there's this feeling of expansiveness, of abundance, of creation, and I'm experiencing that in my life on so many levels, right? Like I find joy in doing these videos. I find joy in creating the thumbnail for the video. It's like all these little things, they come from my heart and it makes me think about these things and it brings a smile to my face every time I do these things, right? And so it's coming from that true creator energy within my heart, right?
and it's being able to acknowledge how important it is to do what make gives you joy, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So many things, like so many people. I don't know if I've shared there. I had a friend and she was going through some stuff, and I said, well, what brings you joy? And she burst into tears.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what brought her joy at that point wasn't for her best and highest growth, right?
Yeah,
So she was like, oh my God. And in that moment, I remember looking out and, oh, there's a butterfly. And I immediately get into that, oh, what an amazing pic. Or it was more, sorry, oh, what do you call those ones? Bzz, bzz, hummingbirds.
oh yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah,
things, those are so amazing.
yeah,
And I can look around and see so many things that give me joy. Oh, look,
yeah,
this plant hasn't died and it's getting some new shoots.
yeah.
It's like,
It always comes back to nature, doesn't it? Nature is our truest guide. And even for me, like over the last few days, I've been doing a hell of a lot of gardening, and I just created like a fountain in the garden for myself to bring in the hummingbirds.
yes, I know.
And it's such a beautiful thing to actually go out and, be out in the sun and just do some gardening. It just brings that peaceful energy into your being, right?
Well, it brings it's beauty and it's working in the dirt, right? I did
Yeah,
the same thing and I had to watch it though, because of course I'm still dealing with this wrist thing.
yeah,
But I just I just absolutely love it. It's just having just some few pretty colors in a pot, right? I don't have
yeah,
a huge yard to work with, but I can do pots, I can do hanging, and two plants, huge plants that I thought were dead because they had just got so gross, cut them right down to nothing.
yeah,
And a mutual friend of ours, Karita, had said, so what are you going to do with that? And I went, oh, I don't know. I'll wait till the spring and then I'll just dig it all out and use it for something else. Well, lo and behold, I had this huge, you've even seen it at my house. It was a huge bamboo pot full of bamboo. It was giant. Well,
yes.
winter a few years ago just completely whacked it, right? It just died and it got
Oh,
looking out at it now, and it's bamboo when it's just starting is so soft. It's like
Yes.
well, I've got these 4 foot high bamboo bush starting to grow again. And another one that we had, this lilac bush that our landlord, I won't even talk about it. We had to hack it off. It's dead. No, it's not. And that too is like, and I'm going, oh my God, all this regrowth, all this
Yeah,
feminine creative energy
absolutely.
is starting to show up everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't need much, to propagate these things, Catrice. Even a leaf can become a huge shrub.
Yeah,
I've
totally.
been doing a lot of propagating as well, and it's like it's so joyful to see that leaf become, 2 leaves and 3 leaves, and then, go into a big shoot. And it's a beautiful process, right? It feels like, your own children coming to life, right?
You're birthing some beauty, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last year, I propagated some seeds, lavender seeds, and I have 3 little baby plants now. So I'm really proud of myself. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it's a lovely smell once they get to be big enough and start giving
Yeah, yeah.
pretty little flowers. Yeah. Too fun. How did we get
So
there?
I wanted to plant a seed for you. Have you heard of the law of one?
The Law of One.
Of one, yeah.
I do remember reading that a long time ago. There was actually a book called The Law of One, but of course, in my little brain, I can't remember. But go ahead.
You could be right. There is a book. So it's like a live transmission, if you will. It's called The Law of One, the Raw Material.
Oh, raw. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like a transmission of conversations or downloaded conversations between this guy called Don Elkins and Carla Ruckert and Jim McCarthy. So the
Okay.
three of them formed this organization, if you will, called LL Research. So it's L/L Research, and they've uploaded all of this material. So if you go and look it up online,
Okay.
all of these transmissions are available for free. It's like a public domain, right? So you
Okay.
can read it, or I think you can download the audio files as well. But it's a beautiful transmission of the law of one. To me, that's like the pure energy, if you will, of the universal laws and how they govern uh, just beings like you and me, right? But from a very complex way of looking at things and how we're meant to live in this day and age. But we've gone into that whole inversion thing, right?
Mm,
And so they brought forth these teachings, or they attempted to bring forth these teachings during the reign in Egypt and South America, but they found that it was not being anchored in the right way because people were just too far gone to bring that material forward. And so I believe in 1972 or somewhere in there, this conversation started to happen between these three people. And Carla Ruckert was the one that was actually bringing forth these teachings. So she would just lie on this table in a very particular position. They were very, very particular about how she was positioned, where the implements were placed around her head, and how her body was positioned. And then the transmissions would start. And
so,
they had
what are these implements around her head? What
I
do you?
think they had like a candle and a bowl of water, and I forget, there were some things around her that were placed
Okay, that we're gonna.
when she was lying, right?
Yeah.
And so it was just around her, like just to clear the field, if you will, right?
Mhm.
But the teachings, and I've been listening to it on and off over the years, but the teachings are so pure. It's so beautifully brought in.
Mm,
I think there were 106 transmissions, and then Carla had she had some physical issues, and so she got sick. She has passed away, and I think so has Don Elkins. I think there's just one person left,
mm,
Jim McCarthy. So if you get a chance, check it out. There are also YouTube channels where, if you prefer to listen to anything, then they have the video and the audio as well. So yeah, you can totally listen and chime in. But I thought I'd plant that seed, and
like,
even perhaps for the listeners to go and check out the Law of One. I know it's quite well known out there, but it's just it's very close to my heart, and it's really, really pure transmissions of how a collective consciousness lives in that pure Christ energy, right? And so since we're talking about that energy today, I thought I would bring that in just to share with everybody so that we might live that way.
Totally. Totally.
What else do I have? Oh, there's another thing that crossed my Facebook page, and I thought that I would bring that in. It sort of has to do with a little bit of politics, but I thought what followed after that was really interesting. So this lady asks the question, what's going on with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the US government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, what is truly happening is a timeline divergence. It is an inevitable splitting of paradigms. I'm just paraphrasing here, but you can go and look it up. Her name is Jolie Wilson, Jolie Wilson. And she channels the Galactic Council.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just going to paraphrase because I think it's like 4 pages long. But anyway, Donald Trump carries the disruptor archetype, his soul incarnated to fracture illusion, not because he is pure light nor pure shadow, but because disruption was needed to stir the collective out of slumber, which I think he's doing to the T, right? Like he's definitely representing that.
Yeah, he's
And
blowing
then
everything up for everybody. It's like,
but to me, when he was even first coming into the field, if you will, as a political candidate, I totally saw it for what it was. I was like, this guy is a mirror for our society. He's just going to reflect everything back to us, what he sees as what is wrong with society, and we are going to have to clean up our shit, so to speak, you know? And that's exactly what he's doing. You know, he's bringing all of these inversions to light, and people are being forced to see things for what they truly are, right? And then she goes on to talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk carries a more complex role. He holds the codes of future technology, innovation, and galactic consciousness. In some timelines, his sole blueprint is that of a liberator, a bridge builder between humanity and the stars. But in this timeline, he stands at the threshold, pulled between the forces of liberation and control.
mm,
He has not fully chosen the darkness nor fully chosen the light. He hovers at the edge with countless influences tugging at his field. Yeah, interesting, right? I see that totally with what's going on with him as well.
yeah.
And then she talks about the US government. The US government itself is undergoing an energetic initiation. What we witness now is the collapse of structures that once carried the dream of liberty but were long ago infiltrated by control, separation, and distortion.
Ah,
Behind closed doors, there are indeed high ranking officials and power holders whose souls once signaled sacred contracts to serving the awakening. Many were seeded into positions with the hope that they would remember their original pledges. The Galactic Council, the Galactic of Light beyond have long attempted to reach them, sending dreams, intuitions, signs, direct transmissions to their higher selves. Some have responded. There are a handful holding quiet, invisible lines of light within governments, doing subtle, powerful work without public attention. But many others have been too deeply entangled, too wounded by fear, wealth, power, and
yeah.
survival programming to hear or heed the call, which is very true, isn't it?
Oh my God. That just drives me, sorry. Oh, it drives me crazy going, why is nobody doing anything? Why is nobody saying anything? Why is
Yeah.
everybody hiding? I read,
Well, it's the mind control, right?
yeah,
It's like they hold them
it
in their
feels,
power because they have things to lose, right? They,
oh
like
my,
I said, you know, they trap them, and when they go into these higher positions, if you will, and we talked about this in the
yeah,
past.
yes. And it's like, they're there, and it's just, it's terrible. I hear grow some balls, but I remember I read something the other day, and they're talking about everyone is so afraid of the power of a few people in government. I mean, look at how so many people, they've just been decimated from their jobs. It's like nobody feels safe. And when you are an elected government official, at least from where I stand, that means you're there to do the will of the people. And
Exactly. And they have forgotten that along the way. And
it's
they have, whether they like it or not, they have gone into that inversion, right?
they
So
want
they have dipped their fingers into the power of the darkness.
the money
Yeah,
and material possessions
yeah,
and backroom dealings, and it's like, oh my god, it's not just an inversion, it's like the whole of the government system
yeah.
is, I don't even want to say it, but it's not good.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I appreciate what Trump and Elon Musk are doing, because to me, that's at least in some part is dismantling this corrupt system, right? Which is what needs to happen. Like even if they don't do it to the extent that is in purity, let's say, right? If they're not coming from that pure Christos energy, but
Yeah,
at least they're attempting to break down these institutions, right? And with the fall of those institutions, at least one layer of these energies are being dismantled. Then people get to see what is truly happening, because I think that has been important. People have not been aware that these things were happening in the first place. So,
yeah,
with what has happened with Trump and Elon Musk, is they have shone a light into these very dark places so that people can at least understand what's going on. And a lot of people are shocked by what is going on because they have been, totally they've buried their head in the sand and they've not been aware of any of this that's happening. And once you go down and you can pick any one of these rabbit holes, right? And once you go down any of these rabbit holes, then your mind begins to spin and you open up all of these other avenues of corruption, right? And it's a minefield out there. Believe me, Catrice, I have done the research. It's just terrible. And
mm-hmm.
if you're in the mood for it, I'll show you something that came through my feed as well. But I just want to finish this reading because it's really beautiful towards the end.
Right.
So she continues, she said, this is why the Galactic Council shifted its strategy rather than focusing on traditional power structures, government corporations, mass institutions. The Council now works primarily through starseeds, wayshowers, the awakened souls walking among the people. You are not placed in positions of earthly hierarchy by accident.
Mm.
You are spread across the grids, embodied in communities, weaving unseen threads of light into the collective field. You are activating the remembrance from the grassroots up, not from the top down systems, but from soul up vibrational resonance. You are no longer trying to fix the system. You are building entirely new realities within, around, and beneath them. And this goes directly to the grid work that we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The old falls by collapse, the new rises by vibration. So the Galactic Council says this is not collapse, it is a sacred rearrangement. The false must fall, not to destroy, but to make space for what is true. You are not powerless. You are the architects of the new. Anchor light, not opinion. Anchor soul, not division. Anchor remembrance, not fear.
Mm-hmm.
They remind you that behind the visible chaos is a deeper unfolding. The light grids are strengthening. The codes of the new earth are fully activated in the crystalline heart of Gaia. Every time a starseed remembers their mission and holds their frequency in clarity and love, it ripples outward 1,000-fold. You are not alone. You are not small. You are precisely where you're meant to be, doing what you doing far more than you can sometimes see. What you can do now is simple and profound. Hold your frequency with devotion. Tend to your light body as a living temple. Build real world connections, soul communities, trust circles, wherever you are. Focus more energy on what you are building than what is collapsing. Anchor joy, anchor truth, anchor sovereignty. Bless what falls without becoming entangled in it and fear around it. Walk lightly but powerfully, singing the new earth into being with every step. And then the Galactic Council closes with this message, saying, walk as a lighthouse, speak as the song of remembrance, love as the hand of the mother, shine as the child of stars you have always been. The new earth rises through you.
Mm.
I thought that was quite beautiful.
I picked up on start trust circles.
Yeah, that was really good. Hey?
Well, yeah, it just, I mean, everything else fine a day, but trust and what it is, it's we have to learn to trust ourselves. We have
Yes,
to honor our own truth, right? It may not
absolutely.
be what everybody else is. And I have noticed for me lately, I've had to say to certain people, I'm sorry, I cannot discuss this with you because we've got these completely divergent
Mm-hmm.
realities. And
Yeah,
that's what it is. It doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's
yeah,
just we aren't in sync. So there's lots of other places we are, and
yeah,
we stay there. That part that you are trying to hammer through my head,
yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
yeah.
Right? And it's
Well, we come back to that wounding, right, within the energies, right? And so it's either wounding within yourself or it's a wounding within the other person, right? And so when you clash or when you're at loggerheads, if you will, with each other,
Mhm.
there's a reason for it, right? And it needs healing within the field, within the collective, or it needs healing on the individual level, right? And
One thing,
so you need compassion whatever that, whatever situation that is, right? And that compassion is in a way healing yourself and the collective as well. Because just by your acknowledgement, you're respecting that other person's growth as well.
totally. And the interesting thing, though, I have noticed with, well, it's two people in particular, but probably in the past, we would have got just bang, bang, or there'd be yelling or fighting. And it's so stupid. Like, where would that bring any of us? But what I'm finding, and I'm sure it's because of the way I am responding, the way what I'm bringing to the table, it's being received from a place of trust and love,
Yeah,
and knowing that there is absolutely no, antagonism coming from me.
yeah,
I'm just sharing my truth.
yeah.
And one of those is my son, right? And he came on, got it. And for him, that's huge too. But he also has started meditating a lot and is getting ready to go on a 10-day silent retreat. So
Oh,
today, my
nice.
sweet boy is finally goes, Ma, I'm finally growing up.
That's awesome.
Second part of his 40s. So I'm going, hey, dude, whatever works. It's like, yay.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. There's a lot of awakening happening. It's just
Because if
it
they
it it,
don't,
it just takes 1 second to trigger that remembering, like we were just reading about it. It's like
oh,
all you need
totally.
is that spark to bring that starseed mission forward or to bring your true soul purpose to light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the energies have anchored, and we've seen that happen in our own realities, right? It's like once that energy is already here, it doesn't need for you to go and sit in the mountains for 10 years to get that realization. instant, you know? So it's very real and it's happening all around me, you know. It's like synchronicities, miracles, all of these things are part of that awakening, you know. It's like
Mhm.
your entire senses are like opening up and receiving the universe in its true essence, right? And so
But
all of these things are possible because of that.
oh yeah. And when the fear leaves, when the doubt leaves, it's like, oh, how can I describe it? It's like all this oppressive shit, pardon me, that has been weighing us down is just being shed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I've shown you that picture before, but there's this gradation, if you will, of the lower energies as they go up to the higher energies, and the colors get more beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, even the energy frequency, it's measured by frequency as well, right? And so as you climb the frequency um, measurement, if you will, right? So you go from like fear is at, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers, but I think it's at like 72 hertz or something. And then you climb to the frequency of love, which is like 525 or something like that. And it's like, you know, gratitude is above that. And it just keeps going higher and higher. And I'm sure the Christos consciousness and all of that is like, you know, higher than all of that. But it's like you can see it, you know, in a very visual representation of that energy. And you know instantly when you're vibrating at that, perhaps the level of fear, you
Yeah.
know that you're in that field, right? And so to instantly get out of it, all you have to do is go for a walk, like we were talking about gardening. You know, you get into that
Yeah.
energy of gardening, you instantly are tuning into Mother Earth, which is the frequency vibration of 525, right?
And you're present. You're fully present.
Yeah.
You're doing that. And that is another thing. How many of us have got 15 things all going on in our head at the same time?
Yeah.
As soon as we finally come to the realization that, okay, you have all these things, but you really, in essence, can do one at a time,
Yeah.
right? And the more we start paying attention to that focus, being clear, also understanding if we're pushing ourselves to do something and it's just not happening, the
Yeah.
universe is saying, "Hello, step back here
Yeah.
and go down this path here." And you got to acknowledge it. You can't
Yeah.
fight and fight and fight. Well, that's what some people apparently like to do. I can't. I just can't. It just my energy gets just frag.
It gets worn out, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I'm always asked to work at these psychic fairs, and I'm sorry, psychic fairs are great, I guess, but I keep trying to explain to these people it's not like I'm going woohoo, shits and giggles, let's go have some. I don't do that. I won't say it's not fun, but it's a much deeper, more centered um, um, answer that's coming through. It's not like somebody the other day when I did do affairs, he said to the person who's paying to come in, "Have fun," and I'm looking at her, "Have fun." We juggle a bunch of crap over here. Anyway, so I finally had to say, I cannot do this.
Mm.
It's not what I do. Long ago and far away in the beginning of time,
Yeah.
I did a lot of those, right?
Yeah.
Because you're,
Well, you're evolving too, right? And so it's like that doesn't serve your being anymore. So you have to make do with what's your path and what makes you happy and what brings you joy, right?
I know. And it's interesting though, when we speak our truth, a lot of people, if our truth doesn't align with what they want us to do, whoa.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not up to me. You could
No.
hate whatever way.
Well, and see, it's the awareness too, right, Katrice? Like, see, you are to me an aware, a very spiritually aware person, right? And so you are in a way intuitive to those energies, right? You sense that energy, right, when it's not going in the flow, so to speak, right? And so when other people that are not as aware or as intuitive as perhaps you and I, then they just take it at face value and they're like, oh, she's being this and she's being that. It's like, no, you have to put yourself in that person's shoe and understand the situation and be aware of, and sensitive to what's going on, not just what's in front of your face, but
Oh, yeah.
tune into the energy of what's happening, right?
Yes, totally.
And why it's happening, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's that awareness on every level. Like when you start becoming aware of, situations and take that larger perspective on everything that's going on in your life, then you understand it from a very different perspective. And that brings in that true energy and that true flow, like we were talking about, right? You come at it from a very abs- um, um, how do I say this? You come at it from a very larger perspective, right? And even though you're not sure of the outcome, it just feels like it's the truth and it's the right path, right? That you're going down.
It's not,
And
and
it comes back to trust again, right? You have to
again,
trust that the universe is going to take you down that correct path and that's meant for you, right?
and you've got to start really, really having full awareness of where in your body truth resides.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Somebody asks you to do something, and the first thing you think is, I'll go with that. Well, let me sit with that for a moment. And if each time I go in and I want to do this? It's like it's so easy now, and I just
yeah,
trust it. And it's not like you can see it, taste it, touch it, but I work with energy, right?
yeah,
You can
yeah,
feel it. And
yeah.
it's just that understanding, bringing us back to all that is. We are not separate from any of it. We
Mm-hmm,
just need
mm-hmm.
to align with our place within it, right?
See, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, yeah, if we weren't here in this physical body, hello, we would just be floating around out like there with everybody else. But we're here now. All those that are floating around out there, they were on the earth at one point too,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
turn, right? To be sharing that higher way of looking at things,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
not just face value. Well, this is the way it always is.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Anyway, I'm getting much better though at speaking my truth and then not arguing with people about it. Because it's like no,
Well, you do have to speak your mind, but um,
no problem.
in a way, there's that wisdom that comes too, right? With what you say and how you say it too,
Oh,
right?
you can't be going nee, nee, nee. No,
Well, you can if you're in my company because I totally understand you, right? And so we can be funny about these things, right? Like, you know what
totally.
I mean?
I do.
But if you feel like I might be upset about you saying something, then that's totally different from you being funny or being you, right?
Yeah,
Anyway, that's awesome.
cool.
Did you have anything else to contribute to this conversation? I think we did a good job
I think,
today.
yeah, that's been really, really, it's been interesting. I know I'm looking at my little tiny computer phone thing here saying to me, battery is low.
Oh, okay.
You know what it is? I need to upgrade my phone, but I'm one of these people. Well, if it works, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you've been talking for an hour and a half and the battery's going down, hello. Anyway, but
All
then
right. Well, I think that's a good indication that we need to bring this to a close. But
see,
yeah, I just wanted to say thank you
thank
so
you.
much for coming, first of all, attending the Gridwork mission with us and, being a part of that larger group, if you will.
Mhm.
So just for the audience and perhaps for you too, Katrice, I don't know if I've talked to you about this. The two Shakinas and myself are planning something for June and July.
Okay.
And the first one I think is geared towards the feminine energies, and the second one is geared towards the masculine energies. So
Oh,
we're trying to bring that healing energy into the field and help balance those energies out as well. It's just sort of in the planning stages at the moment, so
Okay.
stay tuned. I will post something very shortly, either as a video or perhaps a post on Facebook. But yeah, I'll keep you guys informed of what's happening. But
Okay.
yeah, I think this is probably going to be an ongoing thing. We're trying to get more and more of these grid work missions going, particularly targeted towards Canada and healing the Canadian landscape, if you will. So there's still a lot of inversions that are in the field um, that have come into my reality and the Shekinahs as well. And so we're trying to level the field by bringing in all of these energies and trying to heal
Oh,
from that
good.
energetic level. So yeah.
Right on.
Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. Put a like on this video and subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter to keep updated with what's going on and all the exciting things happening in my life and Katrice's life and and the cosmic energies that are coming in at this point. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Have a wonderful day.